What's up YouTube, Jeff Beck again from DopeTechDaily.com, and today I'm bringing you guys my official review of the stable version of Samsung One UI for Android Pie running on the Galaxy S9 Plus. Now this is the version for T-Mobile. T-Mobile just got the update a couple days ago. They rolled it out. They were actually the last carrier to roll it out. Verizon, Sprint, AT&T have already pushed the update. Of course, I made a lot of videos about the beta, so I'm not going to necessarily make this video super long. I want to talk about the most important features as a day-to-day user of Samsung's phones that you're going to notice in One UI, and also talk about a few things that are still a little weird and a little buggy, even in the stable version. Now, obviously, one of the biggest changes you'll notice right away just by looking at the quick settings, and if you go into the settings menu itself, is you'll see that I have a dark mode enabled on my Galaxy S9 Plus. This is of course one of the biggest features. If you go into display here, that's where you can toggle the night mode on or off. You can see night mode right there. Of course, you can go back to a daytime theme if you want at any time, but I really like the darker theme. Samsung has done a great job with the dark theme. The only thing that's a little buggy still is that certain apps actually do not display their notifications in the dark mode. So when you go into the notifications tray, you can see right there the notification from Android system. It is a dark background, but some apps like eBay and a couple of other third-party apps, they still have white notifications and not the dark notifications, which does hurt your eyes a little bit, and it also looks a little tacky when you have some dark notifications and then a couple that are with a light background. I'm guessing that's just a bug or maybe something that the third-party developers need to do for those apps, but it's not a huge deal or a deal breaker. If you like dark mode, you're definitely going to like this improvement that Samsung's added. Now the next thing is the new cleaner, sort of more readable UI that Samsung has went with. You can see here everything is sort of pushed down so that it's at finger level, which means you're able to reach everything that you're interested in reaching on the screen at any given time. If you go into the settings app and you go into something like display again, you'll notice that's also the case. So if you scroll here to the top of the list, all the various sliders and things like that you're interested in are at finger level. Now Samsung says this is to make sure that you can use the phone with one hand because phones are getting larger, and that definitely does make sense to me. I think that that's really a good justification for the way they've redesigned the UI. Things like the phone app as well have been redesigned just to be simpler. Contacts, gallery, Samsung messages, pretty much all of their apps got a fresh coat of paint just to make things look a little bit nicer. You can see there the gallery got a nice little redesign to make everything a little bit simpler, and overall it does flow better. It does make things look nicer, maybe a little closer to stock Android if you're a stock Android fan, and I think that it makes the phone a pleasure to use on a day-to-day basis compared to some of the older versions of TouchWiz. Now the next major change that you probably noticed is I do not have a navigation bar at the bottom because you can also turn on full screen navigation gestures, just as a lot of companies are going to that as well, of course. And the full screen navigation gestures can be found with inside display as well. If you go to display and then at the very bottom you go to navigation bar, you'll find the option to turn on full screen gestures. Of course, you can have regular navigation buttons if you want. And then there's also the option to change the button order, which also does work inside the gestures. Now, if you use full screen gestures, the way it works is if you swipe up from the left or from the right, you can choose which side. You swipe up from one side, that's going to get you to go back, and that's what I have set to the left right now. If you swipe up in the middle, it's going to go home. And if you swipe up from the right in this particular order, it's going to give you recent apps. Now, there's also the ability to add gesture hints, which you can see here at the bottom. Turn on the gesture hints, it's going to shift things up and give you these little lines at the bottom of your screen. I don't like that because it takes up some extra screen real estate, and in my opinion, it kind of defeats the purpose of having the gestures on in the first place. Now, the gestures do work pretty well. They were actually a little buggy. You can see here how the recent apps looks. Gives you a little carousel, just like you might see when you're using a Pixel device. You've got your recent apps there at the bottom. They're pretty nice. They've improved some of the animations and things like that. But I will say that the animations in terms of going home and things like that are still a little bit janky. So when you go home, the animation's a little stuttery. It doesn't fully sort of go there in a smooth way, which is a little disappointing. I'd also like to see them improve the animation a little bit. The animation for opening recent apps is quite a bit more fluid, I would say. They improved that a lot from the beta. but they still need to work on the animations for going back and going home, because in some cases those are a little janky. And of course, Samsung has always sort of been associated with lag, so they're going to want to fix that so they don't have that association. Hopefully it won't be a problem on the upcoming Galaxy S10. Now, a couple of other things like battery life have been great for me. I have really noticed the battery life is a little bit better than it was on Oreo. My battery life probably, I don't know, I've been running this phone since last night and I'm down to 54%. I would say I've used the phone for quite a while, probably averaging about 6 hours screen on time on a full charge. It was really great for a phone that's almost a year old. So I think battery life is doing very well. A couple of other things that have gotten fresh coats of paint is Bixby Home. Bixby Home now has an all new look. It also, you can see, all themed out in the dark mode, of course, if you're running that. The edge screen's got a few new options as well. There's also a few new toggles in the quick settings. If you want to switch between the full screen gestures and the navigation bar, you can do that by just turning this on or turning it off to go back to the gestures. It's kind of a nice touch. You can also do the same thing with night mode. There's also, of course, Dolby Atmos as there was before. You can also get Dolby Atmos now within gaming mode, which is really nice in Android Pie and Samsung One UI. So a lot of really nice features. Samsung really focused on the UI look and the overall feel and day-to-day use in this update. They added some features people were wanting in dark mode and gestures. I still think there's quite a few things they could do to improve the gestures, but this is a huge step forward in Samsung for software, in my opinion. People who like pure Android, they're going to really consider giving Samsung a shot now, I think, with the S10. And of course, I'll have a lot more coverage coming of that once the S10 is announced later this week. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have the Galaxy S9, go ahead and grab your update. It should be available from your carrier if you're here in the US. Stay tuned for all my Galaxy S10, S10 Plus, S10e coverage coming up soon on the channel. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification icon if you want to see future videos like this. I really appreciate you guys checking it out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.